Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. It's time to start season 2 of Bungo Stray Dogs. And I'm so excited. Y'all were so excited when Bungo Stray Dogs won the poll. And when I started the season, I'm like, okay, this anime is really good. I'm liking it. I'm digging it. And then once episode 8 happened, it was like a turning point, and the show has just ramped up. And I loved the season finale. That was probably my favorite episode so far. Definitely there's been some really good episodes with season 1, but that one was my favorite. And so everybody in the comments has been like, get ready for season 2. And I'm like, ah! So if it's anything like the season finale, I think I'm going to like it a lot. So I'm pretty excited. There's new OP. There's new ED. I am really sad because I'm not going to lie. Grand Rodeo's Trash Candy, the OP from season 1, I listened to the full thing, and it's on my playlist now for like when I work out. It's on my playlist for like when I'm driving in the car. I really love that song. It's so good. And the fact that it's Chuya singing it, I'm like, okay, all right, I'm down for that. I heard that he sings another OP. Don't spoil me on it, but I've heard that he sings another one, so I don't know if it's the second or third or not. But I'm excited. New OP, new ED, new season. We've got all the nice thing about season 1 is that it laid everything out on the table. All the characters have pretty much been introduced. They've had their powers explained. The only one we really don't know is the president. But he's the president, so of course they're going to save that for later. And we don't know the Port Mafia. Vida Sexualis. I kept saying Vida last episode. I was like, Vida Sexualis. I was like, it's Vida Sexualis. We don't know his power. And we know a little bit about the Port Mafia. We obviously have had focus on Higuchi. We had focus on Octagawa. We've had some focus on the Black Lizard leader. We've met the other members of Black Lizard, but we haven't really seen their powers totally in action. And we've also met... obviously Motojiro and seen what he can do. So that's pretty cool. I like that. That we haven't totally immersed ourselves in the Port Mafia yet, so there's still some mysteries there to kind of like go over, which is exciting. That has me excited for season 2 because it's like, cool, what are we going to do with this? So, but yeah, things were left unsaid. Many questions. The relationship between the Port Mafia leader and Atsushi is really interesting. The more I went back and rewatched the episode, and I've watched that last season finale quite a few times now because I really like it. But something I did notice is that it almost seemed like, and I'm sure you guys have commented on this by now, but it seemed kind of like he was almost like setting up that maybe he could recruit Atsushi down the road. Like the Port Mafia leader was like, here's this advice, just kind of keep it in your back pocket. Because it seemed like maybe down the road he'd be like, you know what you should do? You should transfer from the agency over here to the Port Mafia because he'd be much more suited to be with us. Kind of like a reverse of what Dazai did. And Dazai leaving the Port Mafia to join the agency, it just felt like Mori, the Port Mafia leader, was setting up for Atsushi to be like, I'll lure you over to our side of things. And it's like, I don't think Atsushi would do it because Kyoka is so terrified of them, clearly for good reason. And I don't think he would ever leave her. But yeah, it's just it's interesting. So I looked up our Lucy character. I'm not looking up Mori yet because we haven't seen Mori's ability in action. And I have a feeling they're saving that for us. So please don't spoil me. But I did look up Lucy Maud Montgomery. And I thought it was Raggedy Ann was the reference, but it's not. It's Anne of Green Gables. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So Anne of the Abysmal Red is a reference to her novel Anne of Green Gables, which the character in Anne of Green Gables has a similar hairstyle, is very popular in that time period, and has red hair too. And the story is of the protagonist named Anne Shirley, who's an orphan, a red-haired girl, who's sent by mistake to live with 2 middle-aged siblings in a fictional town known as Green Gables. So that ties a lot into Lucy's character, because Lucy, last episode, she had told Atsushi she was an orphan, and she shows up with these 2 middle-aged protagonists. We have Fitzgerald and then our guild assassin who was offed. by the Port Mafia. So that kind of checks out. I like so far that it seems like the Western authors, like Fitzgerald and then Lucy, both of them are tied. Their personality of their characters is tied to the fictional characters of the works that they're based off of. So I find that very interesting. I still don't. I've tried to think of what the Great Gatsby could be as an ability, and I still have no clue. And some of you have been like, "It's funny," and I'm like, I bet. So we'll see how that goes. But I thought the whole thing with Lucy was very, very, very interesting. Very curious indeed. And she got away, seemingly. The Guild Assassin, not so much. But yeah, guys, I'm so excited for this premiere. Season 2, y'all. I don't know what to expect. Because season 1, the nice thing about season 1 is it kind of just left off in a perfect place. Like, it wrapped up. The season finale wasn't anything over extravagant. It was more about the reveal of Maury than it was anything else. It wasn't anything. It was more about the reveal of Maury, the reveal of Fitzgerald, and the reveal of the guild existing. So that there are other associations. And some people have commented in the YouTube comments, and I've not read the manga, so it's not really a total spoiler, because I'd probably go back and check out the manga anyway. But they said that my dog's like, yes, Port Mafia. But no. But they've commented that there are other associations. So there's like a Russian association, there's an English association, and I'm like, well, that makes perfect sense, because why would we let Japan and America have all the fun? Why wouldn't we have associations for all the different ability users? Like, that makes total sense. And I've heard in the comments that the leader of the English association is Agatha Christie. I read so much Agatha Christie as a kid. I cannot even begin to tell you. But I hope that we might get into her character later on in this series. That would be a lot of fun. So, we shall see. Please don't spoil me. I want to go in this as blind as possible. I know that's hard because some of you have been like, I want to tell you things, but I can't spoil you. And I'm like, it's hard, but thank you. It's hard for me not to spoil myself, because there's part of me that like wants to get on Twitter and Instagram and Tumblr and like look up Bungo Stray Dogs things, but I'm not, because I don't want to spoil myself. And I know this is one of those shows that has lots of twists and turns and lots of character reveals, and I don't want to do that yet. So when season 3 is over, you better believe I'll be on it. But until then, not yet. So yeah, I've rambled. Let's do this. Let's do season 2. I'm so excited. I hope y'all are too. But anyway, let's do this. We are going to start episode 1 of season 2, technically called episode 13, so they're keeping it. I didn't know what to do in the thumbnail. I was like, do I put episode 13? Do I put episode 1 of season 2? And I just went with episode 1 of season 2 because it seemed better, but technically this is episode 13, The Dark Age. Okay, cool beans. I have no clue what that means, but we shall find out. And so we're gonna start this episode here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do this, guys. Oh my god, that was an amazing start to a season. If the whole season is going to be with this much intensity and dramatic flair as this first episode, choo choo, I am on board the Bungo Stray Dogs train, because I loved this episode. This episode is right up there with my favorite in the series so far. Oh my gosh, because the noir crime drama, it had a very, if you've ever seen Cowboy Bebop, it had a very Cowboy Bebop vibe to it, in that it was kind of like downplayed, low-key, really mellow, but there's so much drama and stuff bubbling under the surface that you just feel the tension and the unease throughout the episode. And it's all, I love that it's a two-parter, at least. A two-parter. And that we're going to go right into the next episode with it. That's so cool. And we're getting Dazai's past. It just, y'all, this episode has just floored me. I absolutely love it. So, we got to go back and talk about it, obviously. Obviously things to talk about already. But I love that we're doing 4 years ago. So Dazai has not been out of the Port Mafia that long, right? It's only because I'm assuming that Dazai has. I thought originally Dazai had been with the agency for quite a while, but no, that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like he's only been with the agency for a bit, at least no more than 4 years ago. So he's been with the agency less than 4 years. I was going to comment before we started the episode, and I forgot about it, but I was going to comment that at the end of season 1, at the end of episode 12, when they had all the group together under the Guild Assassin, Octagawa was not there. Octagawa and Higuchi were not present. So I don't know if they've been kicked out of the Port Mafia, or if they're on like suspension, or what the deal is, or if they're just licking their wounds and they weren't invited, or if they're not executives and they're not allowed to come. I don't know. I'm not sure if maybe the guy that has the purple camellia, if he got promoted to an executive. I don't know. But Gin was there too. I don't think Gin's an executive. So I don't know. I don't think Monojiro is. So I don't know. But yeah, I noticed Octagawa was not present during the last episode. And they talk about subordinates here, and it's 4 years ago, so I don't know. I don't know enough about the timeline yet. Don't spoil me, but I don't know enough about the timeline. I'm just thinking out loud of when Octagawa would have gotten with the group there. But back when A Darkness of Night was a far bluer hue than now. So we're hitting at some sadness to come. With Ango, I'm very curious about Ango and his whereabouts and how he relates to all this. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I freaking love Oda. I love that Oda is a narrator in this. I love that we get his perspective about Dazai, about everything. Oh my God. I love it. And part of me thinks, okay, Oda's our narrator, so surely Oda's not going to die, right? No, I don't trust this show, because Oda's a freaking cool character with an awesome ability, but we don't see him in the present. So I'm like, did he get transferred? He either got transferred away somewhere, or he died. Or he did. And he's the crutch that made Dazai switch over to the agency. That's my guess. Because I don't know. I know a lot of you ship Chuya and Dazai for reasons that I don't understand yet. And I'm sure I will find out, so don't spoil me. But there's chemistry between Dazai and Oda. There is chemistry there, y'all. You can just feel it. And I know, and that's what makes me think that he's dead, because all of you ship him with Chuya now. So, I don't know, don't spoil me, but I'm just saying I love Oda. I like the callback to Lupin. Is that like Lupin the Thief, the series in Japan that's really popular? I like that we get this whole bar scene that the episode opens up with is amazing. It's kind of one of those scenes that I love in a show where it's just people sitting down and having conversations. Like with Run with the Wind, with the anime Run with the Wind, there are scenes where Kakeru and Haiji just stand in a kitchen and talk to one another. And it's some of my favorite moments in the whole series. There's nothing dramatic going on. There's no action. There's no like fast-paced adrenaline stuff happening. But it's people having conversations and delving into their characters in that moment. And it helps expand their characters and enrich them, and it makes the story better. And this whole opening, this long opening, the Dark Age. Oh. Starting out with Dazai and them in the smoky bar. And they're like all regulars, the three of them hanging out. And I like the bartender doesn't say anything. But, oh my gosh. So there's a lot of conversation drawn in this opening scene. I like they have the whiskey on the rocks. Like, that's so cool. So what's with the new injuries? Is this from the shootout? So Dazai is always bandaged up, right? And I thought from season 1 that it went with his character, that when he tries to commit suicide, he ends up getting injured. Like Atsushi found him, floating in the lake upside down. So I wondered if that, and it seems like Oda's kind of hinting at that. Like, is it from the shootout? And he's like, I had to go pee in the midst of it. And I tripped in a ditch because I was hurt. Like, Dazai, we've seen Dazai in this episode be super serious. But he kind of is jokey around Oda, just like he is with Chuya and the others. And I love Oda's narration here, the voiceover about Dazai, the Port Mafia executive. And then Dazai sang after I roughed him up. Dazai's whole, it's really sad. I don't, I know it's played sometimes as a joke, but I feel like Oda and I have the same reaction in this episode to Dazai talking about suicide, that he's like, and Oda says the biggest misfortune for Dazai's enemies is that they're his enemies. It's almost like Dazai can't help but be very good at his job. And he says his list of deeds written in darkness and blood is enough to make even those in the mafia tremble. He was practically born to be one of them. Like Dazai was born to be a mafia member, like born to be a natural born killer. I really like that Oda kind of sees, and that gives so much insight into Dazai's character, because Dazai's like, I constantly am looking for death, because he's in this association where he's doing his job, and his job is to kill people, and he's very, very good at it, and he can't help but be very good at it. So he's like, if I just died, it wouldn't bother me. And that's so sad. That's really sad. And so I wonder if him switching over the agency has changed that perspective any. I don't think so, because he does it kind of as a joke to Atsushi, but like that it breaks my heart that Dazai is longing for death. It breaks my heart. I wonder if there's a simple, reliable way to commit suicide. And then he does the thing with the detergent and all that. So Ango is interesting. I honestly thought at the beginning that Ango was the boss, because his hair is kind of like parted to the side, kind of like Mori, and then he doesn't drink. It took too much time to buy these smuggled things. And you could tell after rewatching this that Dazai's like working around in his head what's going on. Like you can tell the wheels are turning and he's thinking about all these things, and Oda's just kind of over there on the side. But yeah, what foreshadowing in that Dazai's like, I want to take the picture. And I find it very fascinating that Dazai and Oda's abilities are kind of connected in a way, because Dazai's ability is to nullify abilities, so he can stop an ability by touching people. But Dazai also has this quality about him where he has a very good perception and sense of predicting how things are going to go. He's like, I'm orchestrating this, and whatever happens is going to happen. And that kind of connects to Oda's ability, which Oda's ability, Flawless, I love it. It's like foresight. He just gets to see briefly, like a few seconds in the future, and that explains why he can avoid being attacked or being injured, because he can see it before it happens. I love that Dazai is so enamored by his mundane job, and then Ango's like, quit wanting to do that. I love it. I love Dazai is just enamored at Oda. But yeah, Dazai's ability and his perception to see kind of into the future connects with Oda and his actual ability to see into the future, kind of. Like, it's so cool. And I like that Oda, he's like, I'm the Port Mafia's handyman. I'm just like the guy that runs I'm an errand boy. I just run and do errands for them. And it's not because he's not talented. Like, his ability is amazing and could be severely OP. And it's like, he's not because he's intelligent. He has an amazing ability. He just doesn't want to kill people. And he works for the Port Mafia, but he's like, this is as far as I want to go. I'm fine with being at the bottom rung of the ladder. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute with Mori. But he's like, I'm fine with being at the bottom. I'm complacent with where I'm at. I'm cool with that. That's fine to me. And so that's so interesting. And so Dazai asking if they can have the camera and making the toast. And it's like he's sensing. And I wonder, thinking back on this episode, if the wheels were turning in Dazai's head and Dazai was realizing, oh, he's like, something's off, Ango. I've drank with you enough to know that you're like one of the main intelligence guys for the Port Mafia. So, of course, you're going to be a target. And this mysterious dealings that you're hiding from us is suspicious. And so something's about to go down. And that's why he says, let's take the picture and do the toast, because it may be the last time we're all together. And sure enough, it is. So I love that they're like to the stray dogs, hinting that all three of them have maybe jaded pasts and that they're all like stray dogs that have wandered into this organization. That's such a cool callback to the title. But here's the thing. As this episode goes, Oda says that this would be the last time we were all three together because one of us was going to die. Now, the obvious thing would be to think that Ango's going to die because he's gone missing. I don't know. I think Oda's going to die. I think it's going to be Oda. And I think his death is going to be the catalyst to get Dazai to leave the Port Mafia. I'm just saying it would check out with the timeline that Dazai leaves after someone he deeply cares about, which we've established in this episode is Oda, kicks the bucket. I love the picture of Dazai with the cat. That picture's amazing. And he's like, take it from this angle to make me look more manly. It's like, mm-hmm. And I love we get their abilities. We get Dazai, no longer human. Sakaguchi Ango, discourse on decadence. I don't know, I want to wait. I might research Flawless for next episode and wait on discourse on decadence until we actually see his ability. But he's like, I don't need my photo taken. And then Oda Sakunosuke, where it's ability Flawless. And then I like that he sets the camera on top of the tomato juice glass. And they take the photo of them together. And it looks like an old Western photo of them all. Some of them aren't smiling. They're just looking at it. And the cat taking the picture. The cat's eyes opening up and being the lens. Such a cool effect. I absolutely love that. And then Oda in the middle. I don't get good vibes, guys. I love Oda's character. And I'm having Banana Fish flashbacks to Shorter Wong. And I'm like, oh God, no. Don't do this, show. Don't you do this. Don't you make me attached to a character and then murder them in front of me. And I think that's what they're going to do. And please don't spoil me, but y'all are probably sitting there going, hey, Romania, you have no idea. I don't. So, the top of the building. I referenced in the OP for season 1 that the top of the building was like the top of the Port Mafia. We get confirmation that it is. And Oda goes to the top of the building. And I want to just say this whole episode has had such an ominous vibe. Like, I'm used to season 1 where it was all happy, fun. Look at here at Sushi isn't the agency, just a bunch of fun. Aren't we having a great time? And this cuts to like, nope, the dark age indeed. It was very, very scary. And so I'm Oda, and he's going to see the boss. And, okay, so this thing with Oda and Mori and Elise. Please wear the dress. Okay, I have thoughts. Because we have all these clothes on the ground, and this little girl, Elise, I put a lot of thought. And it's the dress that she ends up wearing in season 1. And he looks like freaking Dracula. Like, he looks very, very different. Like, Elise looks a little bit different, but he looks very, very different. Like, he looks very much like Dracula. Here's the thing. Elise, it's been 4 years. And in the show, she looks kind of like a 10-year-old kid. She looks the same in this. She would have been like, what, 6? 6 or 7? She would have looked a lot younger. She looks the same. But I hate your desperation, Rentaro. So, here's the thing. She calls him Rentaro here again. His name is Mori Ogai. So why is she calling him Rentaro? Is that just her nickname for him? Is that just her nickname? And I like that Oda is respectful and he keeps his eyes closed. And the little girl and Mori are like, oh, you're here. Huh. And then they shut the windows for the meeting, which is what makes it look like the ballroom, makes it look ominous. So I am so fascinated by Elise. I know she's a creepy little demonic child, and he's kind of creepy too, but she almost seems to be like, she's the only one in this that has some control over him. So I really want to know more about their dynamic later on, if we get any of that. But yeah, so Mori sends him to go look for Ango and makes the comment that Oda and Dazai are close on a very familial level. And it's like, So I don't know. I guess Dazai's probably talked up Oda and saying he's a very reliable person. But I don't get good vibes from Mori sending him specifically on this assignment either. I don't like that at all. I feel like Mori's almost expecting something to happen. Like maybe it seems like he's setting Dazai up in assigning this task to Mori, because he makes the comment that Dazai is very, very talented as the youngest, port executive, and that in 4 or 5 years he could take over my spot if he wanted to. And that's really important timeline-wise, because 4 years ago, so 4 years from now, Dazai is not in the Port Mafia anymore. He's with the agency. So I'm so curious. Mori says that it's not just Ango's ability that makes him valuable, it's the fact that he's a competent person. And he gives Oda this silver oracle that's basically like a little pass to get help from anybody in the organization. Basically like it's Mori's own words and orders. And I've heard you have personal relations with an executive named Dazai-kun. A friendship that surpasses hierarchical bounds. His capabilities are astounding. In 4 or 5 years, I'm sure he'll have me killed and sit on the throne himself. So, which is interesting, because it's like, Mori, you don't... It's like, Mori, if you don't trust Dazai, and you think Dazai's going to try to kill you, why have him as an executive? I mean, Dazai's great, and he has a very important ability, and Oda doesn't respond to that. Oda, he's like, yeah, you really have a connection with Dazai, don't you? And, Dazai could take my place in a couple of years if I'm not careful. Like, it's a very curious conversation, and Oda is very respectful and doesn't input anything to it. When he turns around, I like this, Cape constantly flaps up, showing off the gun. And he's like, you never use it. And we just get the boss's face, like, ugh. I don't trust Mori. I feel like Mori is setting Oda and Dazai up. I feel like it's just a setup, and that just makes me really nervous going into the future episodes. Like, I feel like he's setting Dazai up to get killed, and Oda's going to step in and save him, and it's going to be like, no. Like, because I'm really getting attached to Oda's character, and I try not to do that, because I should know better. But you know what? This series, it's so misleading, because up until episode 12, it was like, oh, people get shot all the time. Look at Higuchi. She got, shot. She's alive. Look at Akutagawa. He got shot. He's alive. Atsushi got impaled 6 or 7 times back in episode 10. He lived because he's got, regenerative powers. But this episode, people are dying. In episode 12, the guild assassin died. So it's like, okay, Sho is not afraid to kill people. It's just a matter of what all is it going to take to kill him? Like, how far we got to go to get this done? But, oh my gosh. I love Atsushi. I love that Dazai just gives the Black Lizard leader the game, and he's like, here, play with this. And his mood completely changes. It goes from being funny and jokey with the leader to just giving it, and he becomes stone cold serious. And that's what's scary about Dazai, is him going that 180 of being jokey and jovial to being super serious and stoic. Like, that's just such a hard cut. It's creepy. So, yeah, we get to the whole thing about Mimic. We don't know much about Mimic, other than that they're an association, kind of like the guild, kind of like the agency. But they're an organization, too, like a rival gang, which I find interesting. And then with Oda, we get Oda going back to the apartment. I want to see what that book said, because he goes back to the apartment, and he finds the hotel that Ango lives in the book. And I wanted to read what that says. Formal correspondence on light. Formats complete correspondence on light. Which is interesting, like correspondence. So I'm guessing that's his book. I wonder if that's tied to his ability. I don't know, it's just sitting there on the couch. And then here's the thing, it's all very suspicious, right? Because it's so suspicious. Because one, that book is just sitting there on the couch, like positioning him to find it. But then you sit that one stool, like the only piece of furniture in the house, you sit it right below the vent where the gun is. So Ango clearly wanted them to find the gun. But it's like, And then the sniper shot, that part was so cool. That scene was awesome. I absolutely loved that. And then I like that Dazai, his mood again changes where he gets the call from Oda and he's like, I was sniped after, but I'm going after the sniper. And this is where he's going. And Dazai's like, stay safe. I'll be there in a moment. Like, I don't want you to get killed. And then, yeah. And then we go to him and Dazai. And I'm sorry, like, Oda, like, looking over Dazai when they're talking about the assassins. There's chemistry there, y'all. There's so much chemistry. It's like sparks are flying off the screen. And that just makes me think that he's gonna die. I'm trying to be optimistic, but don't spoil me. I have the feeling I'm going to say the phrase "don't spoil me" so much with this season because it's been so good so far. We're only one episode in. Oh my god. But yeah, so Dazai being big brain and matching up the idea of the symbol, of the gun being the calling card, of them having a gun, something's rotten in the state of Denmark. It just smells like a setup. It smells like something gone wrong. And I'm like, what are we going to do with all this? And Dazai, where Oda's like, he's good with his hands. It's like, oh, come on now. But the thing with the Mafia Man and Dazai, the sniper missing, and it still grazed his eye and, like, did all that blood there, like, I mean, Dazai is very perceptive, and we've seen that with the episode with Rampo, is that Dazai is very perceptive. He gets things, and then, yeah, Oda came in to save him. And then, they just massacred him. And that shot where the blood came in was just, oh my god. Jeez. This episode, so good. And then what we got next time? And then the next episode, he sends him off to find Ango, and then nowhere to return. So that's not ominous at all. But yeah, oh my god, this episode was so good. The atmosphere, the dialogue, the chemistry between Oda and Dazai, the relationship they have, them and Ango, and then the mystery, the intrigue, the creepiness with Mori and Elise. Like, it's all just like, I'm so on board with flashbacks of Dazai's past here and nowhere to return. I'm assuming that refers to, like, if somebody's trying to get back into the Port Mafia or get out, or nowhere to return sounds like Dazai getting kicked out of the Port Mafia and having nowhere to go back to, so he ends up with the agency, kind of like Atsushi ended up with the agency. But I don't know. I'm just thinking that whatever happens in these events, we're going to tie it back to the present time with the agency and Atsushi and Dazai and Kunikita. So, there's that. But, oh my god, you guys, I cannot wait to hear what y'all thought about this episode. Like I said, please don't spoil me, but this was an amazing start to the season. I am chef's kiss, all here for it. So, yeah, next time we're going to dive into episode 14, season 2, episode 2. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week with more Bungo Stray Dogs. Season 2, baby. Let's go. Bye.